Welcome to the Move the Stairs episode 61. We are recording on Wednesday, March 9th, 2022, and we are so happy that you're joining us for today's exciting conversation.
You know, Sarah, we have a great guest today. He is Jody McGinness, who is Hemp Industries Association Executive Director. Hemp Industries Association is the nation's foremost hemp industry nonprofit that focuses on hemp education, advocacy, and sustainability. And Jody today is going to talk about the latest issues in hemp. So we're thrilled about this because, we want to learn more about Hemp Industries Association, also known as the HIA, and how this group can keep you up to date on the latest issues in hemp so you can educate your customers and build their loyalty.
And we are going to dive into how Hemp Industries Association uses its social and traditional media to educate and build an audience.
And lastly, we're going to talk about how the Hemp Open Space event is an area where you and other hemp businesses can tackle issues that help you build a resilient brand, which we know, again, is very important in the brand protection PR process. Let's get started. Sarah, let's bring in Jody. Thank you so much for joining us on the Move the Stairs podcast today.
Thanks very much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Well, as Diane alluded to earlier, we know it's going to be a great conversation, so I don't want to keep our audience waiting. Let's dive right into it. We know that one of the biggest challenges for a CBD company is building customer loyalty. And this comes at a time when there are so many different companies and products to choose from. That's where we're going to be focusing here, the first few questions. I just wanted to start here with, you being on top of the latest in hemp, the latest industry news, so to speak, so that you can answer questions when it comes to customers and, building that customer loyalty. What are some of the top issues you're seeing in the hemp space right now?
Oh, that's a great question. And there are quite a few, if I'm going to be honest, in terms of issues vying for people's attention, especially CBD manufacturers, retailers, and consumers. To your point about sort of what they can be doing with their customers to build relationships, I think there's both a challenge and an opportunity when it comes to this industry. The challenge is the lack of federal guidance on this leaves a lot of gray area, a lot of consumers hungry for information, for accurate, trusted information, for products that inform them and help them incorporate their products into their health regimes. And or speak to the effects that they're looking for from their products. So I think there's an opportunity in that challenge to really build bonds with consumers through education, through respectfully engaging them as independent agents in the market who have a lot of brands to choose from. You're going to win consumers for a long time if you build those relationships from a position of respect and transparency. So I think that's the opportunity.
Boy, I love that, winning loyal customers for a long time. We talk about transparency and authenticity all the time. One of the things that we're seeing is a number of groups, pardon me, that educate cannabis businesses, various businesses. And I think that sometimes it's difficult for business owners who all have real limited time and resources to choose who to affiliate with and who to follow. So, for a business owner who's listening right now, can you talk about what makes HIA a unique association, a unique place to find information?
Sure. Well, thanks for the chance to talk about that. The HIA is an extraordinary organization. It's been around for almost 30 years. So for 2 decades before the hemp industry was even a twinkle in anybody's eye, this organization was people who believed in the value of making products out of hemp, and they worked tirelessly as activists for years to try and get us to where we eventually got to an industry. And the HIA has always been this really cool idea. It was founded idealistically as a very democratic nonprofit where the members get to make every decision from who our board is to what changes to our mission to what happens to our assets if we dissolve. It really is a a joint enterprise that's always been powered by people who want to give back and do a little bit more than make a buck, but also make a difference. And so that makes the cast of people who've come through large and diverse and interesting, but it also makes it sort of a running bet in favor of our better angels, if you would, the people whose companies and farms and those are our members, businesses and farms. Those that join are the ones that believe in making the industry into everything it can be. So it's kind of a cool endeavor to be a part of. Education is built right into the mission. In fact, part of our mission statement reads to educate the market for the benefit of our members, the public, and the planet. So it's been things like our Hemp History Week campaign, which we've run for over 10 years, going into retail, mostly natural product stores, to talk about hemp foods and to demystify and clarify some of the myths about hemp. This year we have an event that's taking place in June in Kentucky, which is exactly the same idea. It's, in Deep Red, Kentucky, we're hosting a one-day educational and entertainment event that's designed to bring out the locals, to teach them about this plant, the value of adding hemp to their rotations, to dispel some of the misconceptions and myths, and really just it's a benefit, the concert itself. So it gives to a local nonprofit. So the idea is, showing how hemp is helping communities and can be a resource for rural communities, because that's really the vision that our members have always had, going all the way back, is that this would return value to the communities that have had a lot extracted from them over the last couple of generations, and help, with a new cash crop, we have this opportunity to reinvest in those communities. So it's education is really just a measure of, or a tool that we use to try and advance this industry, but it's always been a big part of our quiver. So joining the HIA keeps you informed just from a national level, because we focus on that stuff. Just signing up for our email list, you can go to our website, which is thehia.org, thehia.org. And if you just sign up for our or for our email list, you can get national news and policy updates about hemp sent to your inbox every month. And you can sign up for what we call our Hemp Roots newsletter, which gets you action alerts about your state, things that are happening in your state about hemp regulations. And that's really key right now, because of the way that hemp was legalized, we have nearly 50 different ways that hemp is regulated in the United States. And everybody trying to do business needs to sort of reconcile those two state regulatory frameworks, plus federal considerations at the same time.
I find that really interesting. And I think the education is great, because it really helps solidify that customer loyalty, because it builds your thought leadership as a business owner when you know what's going on. I'm also interested, on top of basic education, there are those topical news stories that come out every day. I mean, I know I spend probably a good 30 to 60 minutes a day reading what different groups have released. And my question to you is, do you have any tips for business owners on where you think they should go, where they're going to be able to get the latest news, but be able to do it in a really time-effective way? Because we all know time is as important as money when you're building a business.
Well, I do have a suggestion, really a solution for that problem. If you become a member of the Hemp Industries Association, whether it's a farming business member or even just a supporting member, which we have for individuals, they don't get to vote, but otherwise get a lot of the benefits. You get a customized AI-generated newsletter delivered to your inbox every week, which does the work of curating for you based on your interests and based on the articles you click on. It chooses from a huge swath of subject matter that that the HIA covers, or at least our members are interested in. It allows our members to create a weekly newsletter for themselves that includes articles on those subjects that are of most interest to them, but doesn't make them do all the sifting to find them. So it's really designed to help solve that exact problem, and that's available at any level of membership.
That's a great tool. I didn't even know that was there. So we're going to definitely get into that, aren't we, guys?
Well, and Jody, one of the things that we talk about so often on Move the Stairs podcast is what we call insider media relations, because we're all former journalists. And so I'm loving that AI, idea of like being able to stay on top of a whole bunch of data sources at once.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the sources that we look at every day is Hemp Industry Daily. And that's where we found out that the US government is earmarking, $45 million for sustainable construction materials, which, that could be an amazing opportunity for hemp companies. And when you want to, or some of your members want to reach out and share information about HIA or about projects that HIA members are involved in, which media sources do you reach out to? How do you make that initial contact?
Sure. Well, we do have an ongoing relationship with Hemp Industry Daily. They interview us monthly for a sort of hemp industry quick takes of updates, and so there's a good partnership there. But there are lots of good organs for reaching this audience, but it's not an easy thing to do. Hemp Grower Magazine does some fine work. Hemp Today is more European focused, but it's also got some insightful information every week. And then I'm leaving out a dozen or more sources that may cover hemp as part of what they do, or overlap hemp by focusing on grain production or a sustainable farming. So hemp is sort of a subject line, but not a main focus for a lot. So in terms of those news articles that go into the mix for that algorithm to search, it is there's probably more than 50 different online news sources that pulls from, and those are all picked by staff and myself and the leadership, because there is no really there is no one channel where you can be sure to get everything. So it's an ongoing challenge. But the HIA, again, not to toot our own horn, but having been around so long, one thing that we've amassed that a lot of that is sort of unique is a very large audience. We have an email list that is about 27,000 opt-in emails, and gathered largely through tabling events and those education things that we've done in activism efforts. And then through our membership, obviously, as well. And so it's that gives us a pretty big megaphone. We also have a very large, very engaged, highly engaged social media audience. So one of the benefits of membership at for business members is the ability to simply share good news. If it's non-commercial, if it's an achievement, an award, a certification, an initiative, positive coverage for local work in the community, or something like that, it can just be fed straight into our social media platforms and benefit from that engagement. Likewise, members have access to reaching that email list through some other benefits. But we've cultivated and grown that list by not abusing it. Frankly, not using it. We're a nonprofit, and most people who signed up for it signed up because they cared about the cause, not because they were looking for, business advertisements. So we use it sparingly and judiciously, but it is a uniquely valuable property that can be used to good effect. And that in addition to our media partners, some of whom I named, are really our go-tos in those scenarios.
That's great. And when you talked a little bit about social media, what social media channels do you think provide the best hemp information? Who do you follow?
Well, I can't do them all, right? I mean,
Give me your top two or three.
LinkedIn is our preferred platform for anything that has to do with business. I think it is a reality that this is a young industry. There's a lot of what I would characterize as first time or newer entrepreneurs out there and businesses who, may be more accustomed to using more social oriented networks. There's a lot of hemp talk on Facebook and in groups and the like. Instagram is very active for us, and we do a good job relating to our constituents through Instagram and Facebook. But in terms of conducting business or being serious, we try to focus that on LinkedIn, because really that's the most appropriate platform with the right features for commerce and networking.
Jody, that's a fascinating answer, because we find LinkedIn to also be that place where a lot of professionals are hanging out, at least in the social media space. So my follow-up to that is, if you're looking for professionals who are reporters, are they living in the LinkedIn space? Or if you have a tip to outreach to those people, where are you finding that they live, and what would that tip be?
Well, it's my tip would be that reporters are researchers. Make yourself visible and valuable, and they'll find you.
That's good.
Fair enough.
I love that.
We talk about that all the time. Oh, and I just want to really quickly, for our listeners, let everyone know that we've got a fantastic episode coming up next time on Move the Stairs. We're going to have a wonderful conversation with Debbie Churgai with Americans for Safe Access. And that's a group that, Jody, I'm sure you knew about. It's they're working to legalize medical marijuana at the state and federal level, but also increase the safety of medical marijuana through best practices. So that's going to be really a fantastic conversation next time, coming up on Move the Stairs. But now we're going to move on to this other issue that we work on with our clients, and that's creating a resilient CBD brand.
It's so true, Sarah. CBD business owners are always on the lookout for ways to strengthen their business and weather threats to their reputation and bottom line. And that's what we do basically with Brand Protection PR. We help our clients find the opportunity in every challenge, really polish those reputations, and prepare for the unexpected. And that's how you build a resilient CBD brand. So, Jody, we know that looking ahead to what could be happening in the industry is one of the key elements in building that resilient brand. And you're involved with the Hemp Open Space event, so you'll have a lot of input in the next couple of weeks on things that are coming down the pike. But I would think this is a type of program where business owners can find that information that's coming down the pike. Tell us a little bit about that event.
Sure. I'm really glad to be involved. Hemp Open Space is the next one is on March 16th. I'm afraid I'll send the address is hempopenspace.org for more information. But I'm one of the speakers, and it's a really unique networking opportunity. It sort of starts as a guided conversation with some guest speakers each talking about a subject that's designed to be sort of an open question to stimulate discussion. And once everybody sort of talked about their thing at the outset, the format shifts into free-flowing breakout rooms, each one sort of organized around the questions raised by those speakers. So people sort of can move organically from one conversation to the next, and it creates a very a much more natural feel to interactions. But it also facilitates things like in exchanging contact information more readily, and some of the missing pieces from virtual networking versus in person. It does a neat job of trying to meet those needs in a more effective, in a more low pressure and more casual environment than I think a lot of the other virtual forums that I've seen have. So I'm sharing the stage with some really interesting people, which is great. So they can do the heavy lifting for me. And, the head of the U.S. Hemp Building Association, Jacob Waddell, he's one of the other speakers. I believe there's somebody from Vicente Cedarberg's hemp group as well,
Right.
legal experts. So there should be some really fascinating perspectives there.
Boy, that sounds like a fantastic event. Is it in person?
It's not. It's all virtual forum, and it's a relatively intuitive software, very easy to use, not unlike the ones most people are accustomed to. But it just sort of is structured in a way to add bells and whistles that make it more of a natural networking opportunity.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. You mentioned Hemp Industries Association has been around for quite some time, 30 years. My
Right.
goodness.
Most, yeah.
Oh my gosh. In your opinion, what are the qualities of a really solid hemp business that give it longevity? So from your perspective, as we're all trying to build businesses that stick around for a while, what are those qualities that lend themselves to longevity?
That's a great question because, being founded in 94, HIA itself is probably one of the 4 or 5 longest lasting hemp businesses in the country, right? So, and our membership history during that 28 years of existence, the story of HIA is the story of people who tried to start a business with hemp and by and large failed or eventually went away. I mean, there are businesses that were started, came, and they're no longer around because they couldn't get the product sourced in an economic way, or there were regulatory hurdles or production challenges or other things. So the number of businesses that have made it through that far is vanishingly small. At this point, I think something like 4 or 5 years is the average age of hemp businesses. So it's longevity is really relative. In this industry, it seems like an obvious answer, but the thing that ensures or gives you any chance at longevity is adaptability.
Yep.
Right. Adaptability is partially reactive, but it's also about proactive innovation, being open and receptive to change and looking for new avenues or new technological solutions, new ways to do business. I would say aggressively looking for ways to innovate is an important part of being adaptive, because it's not going to come to you and solve itself. You sort of have to identify the path ahead as we're all traveling a road that is shifting constantly.
It's a fascinating answer, and it kind of leads, to my next question and our final question for you, Jody. And, that is, how can CBD businesses prepare for regulatory changes that may or may not be coming in 2022? It seems like we're all sitting on pins and needles waiting for this to happen. So how can we be ready for that? How can they be ready for that?
Well, yeah, we are hoping that this will be the year that the FDA does its rulemaking. Although it is, highly likely that's not going to be the end result. They'll probably put out a rule that it's entirely possible that it would face legal challenges and not go into effect right away. I know there's a lot of worry from the CBD manufacturer side about what the FDA might try to do in terms of limiting the market and putting it into a pharmaceutical box. So we'll see, and nobody has really any insight into what they're doing, but a lot depends on what actions they take, and those actions will have ramifications at the state and local level. Much of the complication of this industry is brought about by the fact that interstate commerce is not yet regulated from a federal standpoint, and that's part of the FDA's charge. So, beginning to take away some of those institutional roadblocks to commerce and free enterprise that exist uniquely for this industry is one of the first steps. Was the USDA's rule, which came out this year, and now the FDA's rule will hopefully cover the rest, sort of the post-harvest part of the regulatory regime for this commodity.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to watch, but it's going to be very interesting for businesses to kind of have a plan A and a plan B, depending on what happens, right? And to think about how they're going to respond, and to make sure that they are responding. Because as you said, being very proactive is really the key to longevity when it comes to it. It comes down to it. Is that what you think?
It is, it occurs to me that I'm almost negligent in not adding a coda to what I just said, which is for CBD businesses, our advice is really to be on the lookout at what's happening in your states. There are attempts to regulate hemp products going on in several states right now that have alarming implications for CBD, either because the science in the legislation is poorly thought out or the ramifications haven't yet been considered. And in a lot of cases, you're seeing states attempting to take on complicated issues of regulating cannabinoids, and they're sweeping all of them into one bucket, and it could have the potential of limiting state markets in several states. So I would encourage your members to be aware, to sign up for HIA's email for the Hemp Roots email list, and so you get updates about what's happening, and you get the notice when it's time to get your legislators' phones ringing, because it's all hands on deck. That's what it's there for, and this really is going to be a complicated year in a number of states as they try to work through these regulatory issues.
I think that's so important, and I'm glad you said that, because it is, you need to know what's going on specifically in your state as well as at the federal level. And it's going to be very important to belong to some organization who's really working, because a lot of times this legislation is written by people who aren't really involved in the industry. And so there are those nuances that can make all the difference for a business. So we couldn't agree with you more that being proactive, being on top of things is really important. So thank you so much. What a great interview. We are thrilled that you were with us today.
I had a great time. Thanks so much for having me.
So Jody McGinness from the Hemp Industries Association is our guest today. We learned some great stuff. And I'm thrilled because, you know, those AI newsletters, that's my take home point for building customer loyalty, a quick way to know, you know, and somebody who is in the know, who's putting everything together for you, so you know what's going on in the industry, and you can talk to your customers about it, whether you're talking on social media, whether you're talking at point of sale, whether you're just educating on your website. All those are so important for building customer loyalty. So guys, that's what I took home from this today. That's a pretty cool tool.
You know, from an insider media relations standpoint, Diane, I loved how Jody was right to the point in saying that, hey, make yourself visible and reporters will come find you. And then he also added how LinkedIn has become this powerful platform for businesses to share ideas and collaborate for the betterment of the industry. And, you know, when we think about LinkedIn, it's a wonderful platform for this industry. And if reporters are looking there, they may very well find you. So get out there, be active, and share your voice.
Absolutely.
And make sure those platforms that you have, those accounts, reflect you in a way that is going to draw those reporters in. But I'll tell you what, when Jody was talking about building a resilient brand, what caught my attention is always thinking, being proactive and reactive. It's like two sides of the same coin. You've got to react to whatever's happening on the ground. That's part of being resilient, but you got to be proactive, looking at what's coming down the pike, what you might need to get ready for. So I think that's just incredibly good advice. What a fascinating conversation, and how many resources available for anybody listening. My gosh, you guys.
Right. thehia.org is the place to be.
Yep. So thanks again to our special guest, Jody McGinness from Hemp Industries Association, for joining us on Move the Stairs today. And thank you to our listeners and our viewers for joining us. We hope you will join us again soon for our next Move